What is going on, Laker fans? Thank you very much for tuning in. A little Lakers talk daily on this. What day is it, Laker fans? On this Wednesday morning. I appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel on ESPN LA. Laker fans, talk to me about last night. You know, it feels like 12 hours ago where we thought the Lakers were going to get a victory against the Boston Celtics at Crypto.com. The place was rocking. And the next thing you know, Lakers find a way to lose. Boston forces the game to go to overtime. I don't need to recap the entire game. I feel like I've already done that 25 times. But just a really, really bad, frustrating loss for the Lakers. And in today's episode, I want to focus on one thing. There was a question presented to Braun last night after the game, and it was specific to Lakers having, you can call them, almost wins. Take a listen here. Here's LeBron James. It was Dan Wikey of the LA Times who asked the question about the Lakers being in these games and almost getting W's.
How do these almosts, like the almost in Philadelphia, the almost tonight, what does that say big picture about this team? Does it say that you guys are moving in the right direction?
That we lost. You're talking to the wrong guy, talking about an almost win.
Does it change your long-term view of this team?
No, we lost.
That is as perfect of an answer that I think you could give if you're LeBron James. And the reason why I want to focus on this today is because I do feel there are people trying to make a case that, hey, the Lakers are right there. You know what? They beat the Milwaukee Bucks. They just barely lost against Philly. And they just barely lost against the Boston Celtics. And that you should feel good about that. I disagree. And to be honest with you, I started the post-game show yesterday, and that's kind of one of the main points that I was making is that it's one thing if you're the Boston Celtics and you're 21-7 and you lose a game and you look back on it and you say, oh, man, we should have got that W. You have so much margin for error. If you're the Denver Nuggets, if you're I'm just thinking of teams that have good records right now, the Milwaukee Bucks. There are a lot of teams out there, not a lot, but there's a handful of teams out there that they got off to such a good start, they have that margin for error. The Lakers don't have that margin for error. So I'm not a fan of trying to talk about moral victories. I'm not a fan of people trying to make a case that, you know what, at least a month ago to where they are today, they're hanging with a lot better teams. Okay, I understand that. And if you really want to make a case for that, that's fine. But I'd rather make the case that the Lakers should have 3 or 4 more wins than they do today. That the Lakers, if they don't blow a 7-point lead with 2 minutes left to go against the Portland Trailblazers, they don't blow a 16-point lead against the Indiana Pacers, 16 or 17, whatever it was, with 9.5 left to go. If Anthony Davis hits 1 free throw against the Philadelphia 76ers, if Anthony Davis hits 2 free throws against the Boston Celtics, you can be talking about 4 more wins. And for a team that's 11-16, I want to kind of emphasize that because the Lakers went through a stretch where they started off so bad. They were 2-10 to start the season. They don't have the same margin for error as some of these other teams out there. So it's frustrating to me to hear whether it's, media people or it's Laker fans or whatever the case saying, hey, at least they're hanging with some of these teams. I get the angle there. But Laker fans, they should be winning these games. Game against the Philadelphia 76ers. Philly was doing everything. Philly had 5 turnovers in the final 2 minutes. They didn't want the game. And they basically said, hey, here is the ball. AD, you hit 1 free throw, and it's a wrap. And yesterday is another example. I think we all knew if the game goes to overtime yesterday, when it started getting close and Marcus Smart hits a 3 and now it's 5, it was 5, it goes down to 2, you start telling yourself, if it goes to OT, Lakers are going to lose this game. Who's the fresher team? Lakers were firing all their bullets in regulation that by the time, if it's going to go to overtime, Boston's going to win this game, and that's exactly what happened. They were out of gas. They were out of gas versus Philly, and they were out of gas versus the Boston Celtics. Maybe if the Lakers were 7, 8, 9, 10 games over 500, maybe my perspective would be different, and I would say, you know what, they let one get away. But I'm going to go back to when you start 2-10, you do not have this margin for error. Teams in the Western Conference, even though everybody's kind of still bunched together, these games matter. It could be the difference. of making the playoffs and not making the playoffs. It could be the difference 2 months from now, 3 months from now. We'd be looking back at these games and saying, damn, Lakers are in a play-in tournament rather than the 6th seed. Or even worse, maybe they're not even in the play-in tournament. Or maybe they didn't have a home game when they could have. So I'm a big believer that a lot of these games are so critical for the Lakers because of the position that they're in. And I thought Bron answering that question the way he did was perfect. Basically saying, I'm not here for almost wins. And I couldn't agree more. I will give AD some credit here. Yesterday, post-game show, he went right at himself, right? He's the first one to point out he's got to hit those free throws. Basically saying, we've lost 2 games in overtime because of me. That's what I thought Anthony Davis was saying post-game. And he's right. I agree with him. I do think, as great as AD has been, as unbelievable he's been, I know he's keeping the Lakers in a lot of these games, but the game was on the line, and AD's got to be clutch in those situations. And for 2 games at least, he wasn't clutch, and he didn't ice the game like you want to see Anthony Davis ice the game. So, Laker fans, what do you think? You feeling better about where the Lakers are because they're in these close games against good quality teams, or do you kind of lean a little bit more towards me? When push comes to shove and you got an opportunity to grab a W in the NBA, you cannot let it slip away. And I feel like the Lakers have obviously done that these last couple of games. Feel free to comment below. Please subscribe to the channel here on ESPN LA. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show, Laker fans. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day.